It was a big deal last week when 10 SEC teams were ranked. As it turns out, 10 was too many. We saw that over the weekend when Tennessee came from ahead to lose at home to Oklahoma. Auburn barely escaped FCS-level Jacksonville State, and Arkansas didn't escape MAC opponent Toledo. Here's what we learned. When the dust clears in a dozen weeks, we're going to see that the SEC was very competitive again. We may see that it was filled with really good teams again. But what we saw over the weekend is there's decent football being played elsewhere. And by the way, there's bad football sometimes being played in the SEC too. In the spirit of wild overreactions, if you want to forecast a conference getting 2 teams into the college football playoff, what about the Big Ten? It's unlikely for any conference. The system's not designed that way. But Michigan State's 31-28 win over Oregon puts the Spartans potentially in position to do it. It was the biggest win of the season so far by anybody, and it will be the biggest non-conference win all season until the playoff. Ohio State remains the standard in the Big Ten, but let's say Mark D'Antonio's bunch wins all the way to November 21 in Columbus, Ohio, then plays the Buckeyes really, really well. As a one-loss team, their resume might stack up really nicely with anybody's. Stop me if you've heard this before. Trailing late, BYU quarterback Tanner Mangum throws deep, and everybody goes crazy. This time it wasn't quite a Hail Mary, but suddenly, in the wildest of ways, the Cougars are 2-0, and it's time to wonder what they might be able to accomplish. We'll begin to find out next week when they travel to UCLA, and they've got a tough schedule ahead. But could they possibly contend for a New Year's Six Bowl or a spot in the college football playoff? It still seems really unlikely, but so is the way they just won the last 2 games. After beating Oregon, Michigan State defensive end Shalik Calhoun gave a factual assessment when he said Vernon Adams is not Marcus Mariota. It wasn't intended as a slam, it's just reality. The graduate transfer from Eastern Washington has been on campus about 4 weeks. He gave an uneven performance against Michigan State, really good at times, some alarming lapses at times. Afterwards, he told me, I've got to be better. But here's the thing, he gave the Ducks a shot in a very tough road environment. Oregon is down, but not out of the playoff chase. They don't have Mariota, but Adams gives them a shot going forward. Before the season started, Auburn was a trendy pick to win the SEC and reach the college football playoff. First-year starting quarterback Jeremy Johnson was seen as a potential Heisman contender. Now the Tigers are 2-0, but after barely escaping FCS opponent Jacksonville State in overtime, they're wondering what's going on. Johnson threw 2 more picks. That brings his total for the season to 5, the most of any SEC quarterback. By comparison, last year's starter Nick Marshall threw 7 interceptions all season long. Now they start SEC play with LSU, and if you're wondering what's wrong, the Tigers are too. Notre Dame beat Virginia with a late touchdown, but the Irish lost a whole lot more than they won. Quarterback Malik Zaire is out for the season after breaking an ankle. He was their best playmaker and catalyst. When you couple that with the loss previously of running back Tarian Folston and defensive end Jerron Jones, suddenly the Irish are going to have to fight a whole lot harder for victories, and they don't look like a college football playoff contender anymore.